Happy Wednesday. Christopher Williams here, happy to be speaking with you again. And as you can see, we are in the midst of a move here at the leadership program. Lots of items, lots of boxes, lots of stress, things to which we are attached. Some are coming with us, some are not. And it motivated me or inspired me to want to speak with you today about attachment theory. We've been speaking a lot about different behaviors and how we react or respond to those behaviors, whether in a classroom or other interpersonal settings. And I wanted to speak a little bit about the motivation underneath those behaviors. So attachment theory, the first people who really started talking about this were John Bowlby, Margaret Mahler, and they really built upon the work of Freud and his prototypical relationship. Freud talked about the mother and the infant being the prototypical relationship, the relationship against which all future relationships are referenced. The first point at which we recognize this is around 6 weeks or so. That's when a baby first starts to identify his or her autonomy, and through a few behaviors, few markers. One is the hand. Those of us with children know that babies start to recognize, oh, look, I'm doing that. They start following their hand. Very similar to some of our friends from college, maybe. Another behavior is when babies start to smile. And B.F. Skinner, another relatively famous developmental psychologist, did a whole series of videos on this. You might remember them from your psychology classes, the smiling babies. He videotaped babies smile, mom smiles back, and then a baby kind of goes like this. Or some other indicator of like, oh, look, I did that and that feels good. So I smile, mom smiles back at me, and I feel good about that. I caused that, but also it's an indicator of this relationship. And this relationship is a very trusting, secure relationship, and I start to feel good about myself. Donald Winnicott called it a sense of good love. I feel good about myself. As I begin to crawl and then walk and explore the world, as I'm moving about, I'm always going to kind of look back, or we call it checking in with mom. And I look back and that metaphoric smile, right? I see her, she waves back at me, I feel good about myself. Trust within this relationship is trust within me, I internalize that. Good sense of self. That good sense of self is transferred onto the outside world. The world itself is a trustworthy place. I can move about with confidence. I am securely attached. Now, conversely, as I explore anywhere along this continuum, from the smiling up to now, the exploring, if I look back or check in and mom's not there, whether distracted or literally not present, I lose that sense of trust. There is no trust within the relationship because there's very little relationship. Now there's no sense of trust within me, no internalized sense of trust. I feel insecure, and that insecurity is transferred onto the outside world. The world itself is an untrustworthy place. And I'm going to move about it in this kind of defensive posture. I'm insecurely attached. And now through this defensive posture, we all know the best defense is a good offense, right? I learn because mom wasn't here for me, she hurt me or let me down, I know that you are also going to let me down. I know it internally. And now I'm not going to give you the opportunity to let me down, so I might strike out first. I'm going to hurt you to keep you at a distance because I know you're just going to leave me anyway. So my behaviors then become viewed as hostile, aggressive, defiant. Any of this sound familiar? Have we ever met any folks like this? Students, workmates. Now, as a clinician, what I have to do then is try to replicate that relationship and maybe challenge that initial sense of self. I need to be that prototypical relationship. I need to be that person that's instilling trust within this relationship. That's what I have to do as a clinician, but now as a leader or a classroom teacher, as a consultant, how do I recognize that the behaviors that I could view as defiant or aggressive are actually representative of an insecure sense of self? The first thing I need to do is recognize that and acknowledge that these behaviors to some degree are valid based on the internal life of this person. How do I try to reach to build trust? How do I try to build a relationship so that then in instilling that trust, building that relationship, the behaviors themselves start to dissipate? So that's my challenge. How do I, when I see these behaviors, first acknowledge and recognize that they're motivated out of this insecure place? And then once recognizing that, how do I try to address that emotional need as opposed to the behaviors? I'm taking that challenge. I pass that challenge on to you. Attachment theory. I'm Christopher Williams, and that's my view from the field.